Elizabeth Warren. Now, she verbally was clearly very knowledgeable. She had lots of experience, lots of examples that she was able to cite from her own work. She gave statistics, detailed examples, and explanations of her understanding of issues like the environment, the economy, healthcare, etc. So she did come across as smart. Similarly, vocally, she was strong, she was authoritative, she was passionate, she was convicted, but she did speak a little on the fast side more often than not. Granted, they are under great time pressure to get everything in 30 to 45 seconds, which of course is a challenge. We have to make sure that that speed doesn't undermine the listener's ability to actually catch what you said. It doesn't matter if you finish saying everything you want to say if it's too fast for anybody to understand or remember. Rule number one. And as far as her visual is concerned, she did smile at first, but that was about it. And the rest was pretty consistently unhappy in her projection. Weaknesses, again, she was smart, but her specifics were hard to remember because, number one, from a verbal perspective, she had virtually no sound bites. She gave some specific promises that she stands for, or she gave some general promises that she stands for and lots of long explanations. But if I asked you to give me 3 examples of what her promises are, I don't know if you'd be able to. I personally would really have to think about how to explain it, and it would be kind of convoluted at best. She also didn't really give any stories. Stories bring data to life, and personal stories humanize the candidate. She did mention that, as a young woman, she almost wasn't able to afford applying to, much less attending college, and she, at the last minute, got the chance through a local commuter school, but it wasn't really a story. It was just a passing reference. So it was a little bit harder to relate to, and she didn't directly connect it to what she was talking about in that moment and to the point that she made next. Vocally, she was passionate, but it bordered pretty consistently on angry. Now, part of the problem there also is that her voice, naturally, is a little on the thin side. It's a little bit scratchy, just slightly. But when she gets worked up, the thinness becomes a lot more evident, as opposed to, for example, Kamala Harris's voice, which is very rich, very resonant, no matter what she's talking about or how she feels about it. So when Elizabeth Warren got worked up about something, her voice, the thinness became more obvious, and her voice cracked a couple of times here and there. And that combination, unfortunately, projects the image of being old. And no matter how smart she is, nobody wants to feel like they're sending, quote unquote, a granny to the office, an old lady. That's the one thing where she might be sending off the wrong vibe, as opposed to being experienced, strong, authoritative, knowledgeable. A physical weakness indicator is something that can undermine your overall image and credibility, as opposed to Bill Clinton's, for example, regular voice, which was pretty raspy from start to finish and still is. That's mostly from overuse. It's not reflective of age in the same way that hers could be taken. Visually, she had 2 challenges. One was that her head, again, because she was so intense about the whole thing, her head perpetually did this. And that no motion was very consistent, very intense. And you don't want people, even to the extent that you're complaining about something, you don't want people to be associating you with the word no. It's just bad when you go to the voting booth. Similarly, her hand gestures, at some point she was finger pointing palm down. So the pointing was coming at the people, was coming at the camera, was coming at the audience. Nobody wants anybody to point a finger at them. Even if she was talking to the Republicans, to President Trump, to whoever else it was, the fact is it was aiming at the audience in a very accusatory manner. And that makes people feel on the defensive. It can be off-putting. So I would recommend that she tone that piece down.